Hello and welcome to this masterclass from The Banker in association with Avanade to discuss human-centered digital banking. I'm Kimberley Long, Asia editor at The Banker, and today for this second chapter I'm talking with Nic Merriman, Financial Services Advisory Lead Europe at Avanade, as he explains how care and attention needs to be paid to employees as well as customers to provide a complete experience. Thanks for joining us, Nic.
My pleasure.
While user experience has been top of mind for banks, has the same level of concern been paid to employee experience?
I think that's a great question. Clearly, the focus has been on customers, quite rightly, for the last few years, in particular with the pandemic. But actually, what we've seen as that move to digital has happened is just how the connection, arguably, between the banks and their customers has been lost to some extent. Digitization is driving tremendous advantages and changes in the way you interact with your bank, particularly for things like transactional interactions. But what we're starting to see is that level of connectedness between the bank and their employee is starting to dwindle. And customers really expect that. Given what we've been through over the last few years, we see that there is a heightened need in customers to have a better connection with their banks, particularly around more complex products. The issue, though, is that customers and the employees that service them, the gap between them has grown. Employees don't necessarily have the tools and services that they need to be able to deliver the right type of interaction with the customer. Now, in the past, they've been very successful in bridging the gap and joining the dots between the various tools and services that they use. But in a digital world, that becomes more difficult for them to do. So I think banks have got to look more at how they deliver capabilities that provide the tools and services to ensure that employees can give the best service possible to their customers.
And what areas of employee experience are most likely to be overlooked? And how can banks find out which area of their own services are not working for their employees?
The ones that are overlooked, I'm not sure it's easy, to pinpoint a specific area, but I think one of the areas I would look at is how they engage in terms of understanding the customer's needs and wants at a particular time. We live in a digital world. We expect as individuals information to flow through to those people we're talking to. So making sure that frontline workers have the data and the tools available to them to service the customer in an expedient way is absolutely critical. Equally, that ability to collaborate between employees is critical. We're moving to a world with digitization and technology, where every employee of a bank has the ability to become what we would call a frontline worker, the ability to work with customers around their requests. So, for example, if you're talking to an advisor about your mortgage, that mortgage advisor being able to bring in a specialist almost in real time to collaborate on that call, but to provide that employee with the information and tools to make sure they have a complete view of that customer. For too long, banks have relied on their employees as the glue between their systems. And as we move into a world of more digitization and sort of just in time or immediate gratification, customers are expecting the banks to know them, know their situation. And so providing employees with the tools and services to ensure that they're able to deliver that capability to customers is increasingly important.
How can a better employee experience impact on customer experience?
Well, the connection is obvious at one level. By driving a better employee experience, it's much easier to deliver something akin to a much more acceptable and smooth interaction with a customer. And clearly, when a customer is satisfied, then that affects your revenue and your profitability. So giving the employee the tools and the services and the capabilities to collaborate and service the customer will ultimately result in better customer experience, and better customer experience often results in better financial goals as well as sort of net promoter scores and the like. We see that organizations with a very highly engaged workforce with greater flexibility earn over 140% earnings per share different against those that don't. That ability to really provide and support the employees to give the best level of customer care possible. And that reflects as well in the employee satisfaction as well. We find that their well-being increases because they're able to service the customer more effectively.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nick.
You're welcome.